All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today about why your step count might be more important than your workouts if we're trying to lose body fat. So now, before we start, this can pertain to everyone, but specifically those who are on a fat loss journey. And this individual probably isn't out here to gain 20 pounds of muscle tissue either, right? Steps are important, but in that specific aspect, lifting is a big component of it as well, too. So if you're an individual who is wanting to shed some body fat but also put on a ton of muscle, this does pertain to you, but you also have to take into consideration that you have to actually train with intensity and work out hard. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't want to go hit back today. Let me just go get some steps," right? Like it doesn't, work that way. Um, Now, most people are going to assume that fat loss comes down to just how hard that you train and how much cardio that you do, or how hard that you can diet down. But we all know while lifting weights, being in a caloric deficit, now notice I didn't say an energy deficit, and actually doing cardio, these are all going to be essential for shedding body fat. They're just a small piece of the puzzle. It's not the end all be all with these three things, right? Now, if fat loss is your goal, what you do during the other 23, 22 hours of the day, if we're doing, one or two, 1 to 2 hour workouts, plays a much bigger role. This is where NEAT comes into play. And NEAT, for those of you who don't know, are non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT, NEAT. It comes in, this is one of the most underrated and overlooked aspects of fat loss. People kind of just forget that this even exists, or it's not even really a thing, to be honest. I didn't start counting steps until probably 2017, 2018, and I was introduced to counting steps by my first coach. That's kind of where I got into, looking into what NEAT actually is and what can all pertain as NEAT and what can go toward that, right? So NEAT is going to refer to all the calories that you burn from non-exercise activities. It could be things like, just walking around the house, walking to the mailbox, walking to into the grocery store, fidgeting around. Me doing this is burning some kind of calories, right? I mean, me doing this is burning more than me just sitting here like this, right? Um, Taking the stairs instead of using the elevator, doing chores, doing laundry, walking to the mailbox, sweeping the floor, even standing just instead of sitting, right? All of these things are non-exercise activities that you can do to help you burn calories during the day. And this might not sound like much, if we're just talking about this, right? Like this is not going to burn 100 calories, right? If I do this all day, probably not 100 calories. But neat, all of it combined can add up to hundreds of extra calories burned per day, making it a pretty powerful tool for staying lean without spending more time in the gym or doing countless hours of cardio. Right? That's always the big ploy with these in-person, personal trainer. At a gym setting, right? I always, want to market no cardio, very, small workouts, things like that. But these people are also trying to take into account that hopefully your newfound motivation to get healthy is going to get you off of the couch as well too, and not just sitting down watching Netflix, doing nothing, right? For the hours that you're not inside of the gym actively working with them, right? Um, Now, let's dive into what your total daily energy expenditure or your TDEE, what that is. Now, this is everything that you do in a day, adding up to your total daily energy expenditure. This is what you do from midnight to midnight. And you might say, well, hey, I'm just sleeping from midnight to 5 a.m., right? Uh, Consciously, yes. Subconsciously, no. So, things, even things like you breathing, right? That takes energy, that takes calories, and that's going to go toward this, TDEE. So, again, I say all this to say to understand why this step count and all this daily movement actually matters. Let's break down what TDEE um, consists of, right? So if we look at number one, the highest one, this is going to be 60 to 70% of your total daily energy expenditure. is your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, right? This is the energy that your body just burns. It's keeping you alive, right? You're breathing, circulating blood, your heart pumping, digesting food, looking around, that's sort of thing. You can't really directly control this a whole lot, but it does increase when you have more muscle mass. Because if you think about it, if you have more tissue, more active tissue, right? As far as like muscle goes, it takes more work to get more resources to that tissue, right? So again, that's going to go up. Again, that's 60 to 70% of your TDEE. And if we go down to the next one, is the thermic effect of food, your TEF. This is 10% of your TDEE. Now, this is the energy used to absorb and digest your food, right? So you eat something like Jacob's doing right now. It looks good. Um, it takes calories for your body to burn that, right? It's just you can't just chew it up, swallow it, and then poof. I mean, it gives you energy, right? Your body has to use energy to break down that energy that you just ate, right? It's got to use. It takes energy to make energy, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, protein is going to have the highest thermal effect of food. It is the toughest for the body to break down. Simply put, it just takes more energy to break down compared to carbs or fats. And now also, I've done this, and I do this, and probably all of you on here will experience this at least once if we haven't done it already. Um, Whole foods also have a higher thermic effect of food. So if you think about it, right? If you come to me and say, "Man, I am so hungry, I could eat more food," right? Okay, let's look at your meals. Let's just say if in one of your meals it's a protein shake and a rice cake or something, right? Like it's a very small meal. It's a fast meal. It's intended for you to be able to have this meal very, very quickly, right? But think back that protein powder that you mixed in water and you drank that, it's already chewed up, broken down. It's in its finest form, right? It's going to be nothing for your body to break that down and get the energy from that, right? But if you swap, those, 2 scoops of protein powder out, roughly, 50 grams of carbs out for 8 ounces of chicken, right? That you have to chew, swallow, digest that same calorie amount of chicken and this same calorie amount of protein powder is going to take the actual whole food chicken is going to take a lot more calories for your body to burn as compared, to the protein powder. So, keep that in mind. And I typically do something like this, either one, if the client is very, very hungry, or if they're in like a contest prep scenario, and again, they're hungry and we need more, caloric expenditure from somewhere. Again, this is only like 10%, but again, in that aspect, everything matters, right? Um, and then when you look at exercise activity, EAT, this is 5 to 10% of your TDEE. And this is going to be the calories that you're going to burn through your intentional workouts, like lifting weights, running, cycling, etc. Now, this is way smaller than what people think. A lot of people think, oh, I just ate 3,000 calories at Olive Garden. Let me go walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes and do a little arm workout, and I'll be good, right? You're nowhere close. You might have burned 100 calories. Again, this is way smaller than a lot of people think. So if you take your TDEE, right, and let's just say that your total calories from midnight to midnight is 3,000. Let's to make math easy, 3,000. By this percentage of this being your 5 to 10% of your TDEE, you're only burning 150 to 300 ish calories from your workouts. And this is typical, right? I mean, if you're like really getting after it, you're in the gym, you're really pushing it. It's an hour and a half, it's a 2 hour workout. You might burn 500, 600, 700 calories, depending on the person, depending on what their skill level is, depending on how hard they're going at it. But if you look at your Apple Watch and you're tracking it, say, oh, I burned 1,300 calories in this 60-minute workout. No, you didn't. Even if you were, doing some crazy exotic whatever workout, you're not going to burn that much in an hour. It's just not going to happen. Um, and so, that's another and that's a whole other story for another day. But if you're using your Apple Watch to gauge how good that your workouts are as well too. That's a bad idea. That might be another topic for another day. But at the end of it, still, you're not burning several thousand calories in a workout like a lot of people generally think that they are. I think it's more of like a mental thing. So, like again, if you go out to eat, oh, I'm gonna go walk for 20 minutes after, I'm gonna go get a little workout in, I'll be fine. It might make you feel a little better. It might make your digestive system feel a little better. But as far as burning calories, you didn't do nothing. In the grand scheme of things, right? And now finally, neat. This is going to be 15, upwards of 50 of your TDEE. And now this is where your step count and your daily movement come into play, right? So neat can vary between, individuals. Someone who works a desk job might only burn 200 to 300 calories from their neat during the day, typing, getting up, walking to the bathroom, coming back. They're seated all day, right? While someone who is up on their feet all day, working in a plant, whatever, right? They're on their feet all day. They could burn upwards of 1,000 plus calories just from their daily movement in itself, right? So if you take two individuals, let's take I can see Jacob. So let's take two Jacobs. One Jacob is doing what he's doing now. He sits at a desk all day. He does nothing, right? And then the other Jacob is up on his feet for 12 hours a day. The one that's up on his feet for 12 hours a day, I might could give him an additional 1,000 to 1,500 calories a day and still maintain the same weight as the seated Jacob does. So again, it kind of your activity outside of the gym, whether that's your job, you get home, whatever the case may be, all that stuff actually does matter, and it does add up. And so again, so actually now let's dive into how that let's say if you do have a lower step count, right? How this is going to affect that loss. So a low step count, which is going to lead to a low neat count, right, can negatively impact that loss in a couple of different ways. So number one, which I think is the biggest, is it slows down your metabolism. When you move less, your body is adapt to burning fewer calories, making fat loss a lot harder, right? Why would your body need to ramp its metabolism way up if you're not doing anything during the day, right? If you're seated at a desk for 10, 12 hours a day, why would your body say, hey, let's ramp things up, right? They're like, no, we're comfortable here. We might even go a little bit lower, So again, um, this is why I encourage everyone after a meal, get up and walk if you can, 5, 10 minutes, something. Um, increase fat storage. This kind of goes along with the above. Just lower daily activity means fewer calories burned, right, which can lead to easier fat gain. And then this then turns into blood sugar issues. When you're not as active, walking, after a meal can definitely help. It's going to control those, sugar spikes, get the food moving, and it's going to, kind of it'll help you reduce your cravings and control those or not have as much energy crashes, right? Because your blood sugar is not spiking up and down as much just because you're moving a good bit after you're eating as well too. And then also just higher hunger levels. So when you're sedentary, you're not doing a whole lot during the day, your body often signals that you're hungry, right? And it's more likely just because you're bored and you're going to overeat, just what it boils down to. And this is why even prioritizing any kind of daily movement, not just your workouts, is essential for long-term fat loss. So if you're in an office and you have an hour for lunch, take that 20 minutes to eat your food. You don't have to go walk the other 40 minutes, right? Just go cut a quick 10-minute lap somewhere, and then come, sit back down and do whatever. Doing something is going to be better than nothing in this aspect for sure. And so here's a couple of ways how you can actually increase your NEAT without extra workouts. A lot of people think, hey, to burn more calories, I got to do more sets, more reps, more cardio, more X, Y, Z. And in reality, you can incorporate more calories burned during your day by just making small tweaks. So obviously, have a step count goal, which I give all of you a step count goal here. That's the minimum, right? So if I give you 8,000 steps, maybe try to get at least 8,000 in a day, but if you can get 9 or 10, do it, right? Now, this isn't true if you're in a reverse phase, right? If I give you 8,000 steps and you're in a reverse phase, don't go crazy and try to hit 16,000 or 20,000 in a day, right? Just calm down, do the 8,000 minimum, and you're good there, at least in this aspect. Um, Again, taking walking breaks every a 5 or 10 minute walk every hour or two. Get up and go to the bathroom. Get up and walk to your car. Get up and walk to the post office or not the mailbox, something, right? Just get up and move, right? Um, Using a standing desk or a walking pad. This desk right here, it'll raise up and down, and I got a walking pad under here as well too. So if I'm low on steps, I'll raise this desk up and I'll hop on my walking pad and just walk. I can walk at like 2.4 miles an hour and read a book, type, write things, and it not be all messed up, right? So if you're gonna, I wouldn't try to suggest that you like running and typing, right? Because that's going to be a little iffy. But again, you even if two point something miles an hour is very slow to you. Well, if you do it for an hour or two and you're just mindlessly walking, then that's going to count up to several thousand steps there. And then the obvious park farther away at stores. Take the stairs when you can. And if you're somebody like me who has to take phone calls during the day with clients and things like that, I typically don't sit here. I'll just get up and go walk. If I know that this call is going to last 10, 20, 30 minutes or more than that, I'll just get up and go walk. Because you've probably been in one of them scenarios where you've talked to somebody that you hadn't talked to before in a long time, or you're just talking and you can just walk and talk for as long as you want to, right? And it's not even really in your mind. It's not even cardio. It's just getting steps, right? It's just what it is. But the bottom line, I can give you guys workouts, nutrition. You can do the prescribed cardio if you have it at the gym. But if I didn't give you guys a step count, how would I know what you guys are doing in the other 22, 23 hours of the day, right? Look, let's say, if I gave Ernesto the perfect workout, he went 5 days a week, crushed all his workouts, he crushed all of his food, he crushed all of his water, everything was perfect, but I didn't give him a step count. How do I know that after he hit all of those perfectly, did he go sit on the couch or did he go outside and walk? Right, those two different scenarios will yield several thousand calorie difference over the week, right? And if you think about it, somebody who is active over somebody who is sedentary, they can burn anywhere from 500 to upwards of like 1,000 calories difference in a day, right? And we all know 500 times 7 is 3,500, and 3,500 calories deducted in a week equals 1 pound of fat loss. So again, sedentary moving, definitely take that moving route more times than not. um, but outside of that, did all that stuff make pretty good sense to everybody? um, Anybody got any questions about step count? Anything to add? Maybe an easy way to get steps in, anything like that? And I will add, while you guys are thinking for a question, I think Dalton asked yesterday about uh, could you run to get your steps in, right? And you can. That's fine. I don't care if you run, hop, skip, walk backwards, whatever. As long as you're getting that movement in and it comes out to that that step count, right? That's fine. But as we have talked before, anything extra than walking, anything extra that's going to get that heart rate higher than we want it to, as far as walking goes, you're going to become more glycolytic, which is going to then cause you to have more hunger cravings, which is, again, could cause you to overeat, have hunger pains, which could then turn into you faltering off the diet, right? So running 4 steps is fine, but you have to be able to control that mindset of like, hey, if I do go run, I'm probably going to be hungry. I'm going to be hungrier as compared to just getting steps in, right? So that's another key thing as well too. But anybody got any questions on any of that kind of stuff? Anything at all?
The only thing that I would like, I guess, ask is in terms of, so for me, like a lot of times whenever I do the elliptical for like my cardio sessions or whatever, like it counts towards steps. Do you typically no?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so if you think about it this way, if your steps are at 10,000, and I give you, I think just off the top of my head, I think yours is
12.
350 times three a week. I think
Yeah.
yours is
Yeah.
just off the top of my head. I
Yeah.
don't know how I remember that stuff. I mean, it's all in my notes. I don't know how I remember that, but um, so if we counted those extra steps, in essence, like we're taking that, additional cardio and trying to bump that caloric expenditure up, right? But if your steps are normally here and then you're doing cardio, but then you're also your step count, your typical step count is way down here now because you got a bunch of those, during the elliptical. That 350 might be negated down to 100, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so that's why it's always my preferred method of um, if I had to do elliptical cardio and I do track it on my watch, which is what I ask all of you who have that cardio in, just take a look at your step count before that you get on, and you'll see it's at 12,647, right? 12.6, right? Just say that. And then when you get off, just take note of, okay, now it's 15,000 something, right? And just know that, hey, if my step count is 10,000 a day, I need to get 3,000 extra because I just did the cardio session and that added in those steps. So
Okay.
it'd be easier to just take it off, but then you can't really count your calories burned in that aspect. So um, that's kind of the whole thought process there. So, but good question for sure. Anybody else, or is everybody else good? Oh, well, one thing I will say, and this is just a random, and this is random. I wear my Apple Watch on my ankle a good bit. It looks like an ankle monitor. I'm sure I get a lot of stares when I walk through town. But to me, if I'm here typing and I'm on the walking pad, it's not registering my steps, right? So I put it on my ankle and it can register the steps, right? And then if I'm working out and I have to use straps, well then I have to take this off, right? So again, I'll just throw it on my ankle and just get the funny obvious stares as well too. It might scare them away from them not trying to talk to you while you're working out too. So kind of a win-win in that scenario. But anyway, if nobody else has got any more questions, I guess we'll wrap it up. I felt like this is a pretty good call. Definitely different. As far as kind of I know last week's was more like a supplementation video, and this was interesting, I guess, to say in itself. So, but either way, if no more questions, then we'll wrap things up, and I'll talk to you guys soon.